Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as Manchester United enter the race for yet another crazy transfer target. It's Gibbs-White this time. We've also got the obligatory Manchester United-like Anderson update from Fabrizio Romano. We'll talk about that, breaking news as well. Also want to delve into this Carrick debate that Beth sort of started. We'll talk about that, a few other bits as well. But the thing that really caught my eye about where I want to start today is that not only, and I'll read you the detail in it because we're going to get into it, was that Man United are interested in signing Elliot Anderson and Gibbs-White, but they have concerns about the wage structure and not being able to meet their demands. What a joke. What a joke. Like, we can't meet the demands of Gibbs-White and Anderson and we're worried about wages. This is what happens when some of you lose track of what's important and start knocking one out to the fact that our wage bill is coming down. This is the glazification of Manchester United through Ineos, reducing the wage bill and getting moronic football fans to have a big old toss about it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it does need to be called out. So we'll delve into that. It's an 8 o'clock show as well. So throw what you've got at us. Absolutely fine with that. I've been clipped up and out of context loads today. Apparently I don't like Carrick. Yeah, I didn't say that, but there you go. And Rory with the first super chat says, can't help but think if Amrin got these results, you would be positive. Clear whatever happens, you don't want Carrick. Carrick has had no signings too. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. You just don't listen to the shows, do you? At all, Rory. I literally said this morning, Carrick's not had a pre-season and he's not had a transfer window. So it's the same argument I used for Amrin last year. But don't clean your ears out, mate. You keep going with your agenda, bro. You keep doing you. Right, before we go into the show, thank you very much, Rory, for your super chats. I enjoy sitting people down. Boohoo Man is sponsoring the show. I'll tell you what, just before we get into Boohoo Man, by the way. I am stuffed. I am stuffed. I've just had the best Five Guys I've ever had. It was absolutely amazing. And that's why I was a little bit late because my, Cajun fries are just amazing. Chocolate milkshake, amazing. And a cheeseburger with mushrooms and onions on it. But the reason I was a little bit late, congratulations to my middle daughter who has made it through to the under-21s from the under-16s for the academy she plays for. So she found out today. So that's why I was a little bit late tonight. So always good to share good news. And she's had a tough year. And I think it's something that, you know, I would say to everybody in the community is that life's never an open road. There are always traffic jams and hold-ups and different routes, and they make you stronger. So well done. Well done. Right, anyway, Boohoo Man first, then we'll delve into this shocking breaking news, if I'm being completely honest. Gibbs-White to Man United. No, thank you. Anyway, today's show is sponsored by Boohoo Man. We love Boohoo Man here on the United Stand. And as always, you can get an extra 10% off with the code Goldbridge by scanning the QR code or by going through the link in the description. You can get fantastic hoodies like this. Lots of different colours as well. I love me hoodies. But you can get all sorts. Gym wear, underwear, Netflix and chill wear, the lot. And if they've got a discount of 40%, you can still use the code Goldbridge and you'll get an extra 10% on top of that. So check it out site-wide. And as always, you can probably be aware of this, Boohoo Man promo also comes with a bit of trivia. So can you guess the player? It's not Nani. I was born October the 13th, 1979. Oh, same year as me. I joined the Man United Academy at the age of 12 and signed my first professional contract at 17. Same as me. No. Between 96 and 2011, I made 232 appearances. I made my full debut against Leeds in 1998 and once described by Sir Alex Ferguson as the club's most naturally talented defender. However, I did have a lot of injuries and competition from Vidic reduced my regular game time. During my time at United, I won 5 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 2 League Cups and 1 UEFA Champions League. After leaving United in 2011, I joined Sunderland, then played for Blackburn. I hung my boots in 2018 after a spell in India. I am, of course, and I didn't realise we were the same age. I thought I was a lot older than him. It is, of course, Wes Brown. Very, very, very good player. Very, very good player. and was a bit unlucky with injuries and could play multiple positions. I tell you what, I'd love a Wes Brown at the club now. Big thank you to Boohoo Man for supporting today's show. Don't forget you can get an extra discount with that code Goldbridge on the website, delivered to your door. Check out Boohoo Man. Get one of these lovely hoodies. Right, let's get into the show. Thank you everybody for tuning in as always. It's not Blanc. It's not Laurent Blanc. No, he's a lot older than that. Laurent Blanc's about 90, isn't he? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I've got a bit of a problem with the live chat at the moment. YouTube seems to be playing up a little bit. So if you've got any problems at your end, we're probably in the same position here because I am getting a few problems. Yeah, okay, that's sorted. It seems to have sorted it now. Sorry. Okay, let's start off. We're talking. Look, some people are saying what's crazy. So Manchester United have joined the Premier League clubs monitoring Morgan Gibbs-White's situation at Nottingham Forest. United also have a strong interest in Elliot Anderson and are among numerous clubs looking to capitalise on the possibility of Forest being relegated. Effectively, it goes on to say that they could be at a... United have been trying to Let me get the words on this. So Gibbs-White has a release clause and United have been trying to drive down their wage bill. It could leave them at a severe disadvantage in the chase for Gibbs-White and Anderson, especially with Manchester City also tracking them. I mean, this is from Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail. And I'm like, point of view says debate Beth. There's nothing, mate, can I come back to that in a minute? Because you're not dictating the show, and I will talk about that in a moment. I want to talk about this. So what I find really embarrassing is that Beth wants Carrick as full-time manager. No, what I find really embarrassing is that this is clearly coming in from somebody that we're just it's the drip, drip, drip effect. Now, Jordan made a great point last night. He said, you can already see, again, how the club are money mad. That the obvious thing to do after the West Ham game, with 2 weeks off, was to take the whole team on warm weather training. Morale building, keep the fitness up, go somewhere warm. It was obvious. United don't do it, and players go off and pay for it themselves, like Leny Yoro and Heaven went off to Dubai. That's just cost cutting. We should have done that. And everything's about cost. So we're in for Gibbs-White, and we're in for Elliot Anderson, but we're now already putting up the excuse. Wages. We're worried that we can't compete with other clubs for wages. We're Manchester United. We're Manchester United. And we're already putting it out there that we're worried about wages. We need to call this out. Because I've seen people online going, wow, this is good news. We can't break the wage structure for anybody. If you want to play for Man United, you should come and play. What? Your wage structure that you're trying to break is just the Glazers saving money. It's got nothing to do with you. You don't make any bloody money from it. I saw another article today talking about how much money they're going to save because of Casemiro and Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford. They're not going to bloody spend it, are they? They want to save it. I can't believe I'm reading an article that we're in for Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson, but we're concerned about their wage demands and how we might miss out to clubs who can afford it. I mean, we're never going to progress if we're going to keep bringing the wage bill down. We've already got the 5th highest wage bill in the Premier League. You get what you pay for. We should be moving up the league on the wage bill, not down. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I can't believe anybody would defend it. Like, we can't be going for players. No. It doesn't work like this. It doesn't work like this. You've got Fabrizio tonight talking about love and concrete. Manchester United have a crucial plan for the midfield in the summer. They love Elliot Anderson at Nottingham Forest, and there is nothing concrete in the links with Sangari. Sandro Tonali is also appreciated. So, look, perfect timing from Fabrizio. You know, another brief from the club. They love Elliot Anderson. David Ornstein, they like David Anderson. It's not his name. They like Anderson. Ben Jacobs, Elliot Anderson's on the list, right? For 6 months, because they didn't buy somebody in the summer and they didn't buy somebody in January, it's the same old shit. We didn't buy a midfielder, but we love Elliot Anderson. First week of September, they love Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson's a priority. December, Elliot Anderson's a priority, so we don't have to buy anyone in January. David, Elliot Anderson is a priority. Keep putting it out there. All the way through January. Well, we're not going to go for anybody because we want Elliot Anderson. We want Elliot Anderson. February comes. Well, it might be quite challenging. Still put it out there. We want Elliot Anderson. Oh, we want Elliot Anderson, but we can't pay his wages. And you just get tired of it. Like, he is the player we should be going for, and why would you not give him the wage he deserves? Why would you go to Elliot Anderson and go, you're the midfielder we want, but we can only pay you this? And we know Man City can pay more. Please, choosers. You get what you pay for. And I don't care whether it's Anderson, Stiller, Tonali. You get what you bloody pay for. What's Belieber doing? I'll come for free. That's probably the attraction, isn't it? Oh, I'll come for free. So it worries me because here we are talking about a player that the club have been happy to brief about all season. And now, as planned, they're starting to go, oh, it might not be, it's the wages. The wages. And there's people online going, good, yeah, walk away. Walk away. We're not going to get ripped off. If he doesn't want to come to this club for 50p a week, then forget it. We're not going to give him it. And I'm like, we are factually shit. For the standards Man United have, we are factually shit. We don't get into title races. We rarely get into the Champions League. And we're really going to sit there miles off everybody else going, yeah, we're not going for a player we need because we're not paying the wages. This is football. It's not a bloody business. You need to pay the wages to get the players in. I never hear about Arsenal or Man City debating wages. It's go and get the players that they need. And sometimes they'll miss and sometimes they'll hit, but they'll go and get those players. It's football. It's competitive. You cannot, for a whole year, put it out there through credible journalists that Elliot Anderson's a priority, and then, as it gets close, suddenly go, oh, we might not be able to afford the wages. You've got to be able to afford the wages. You have to. So, look, it frustrates me because I've said it all along. Don't buy the Elliot Anderson story, even though it's coming in from credible people, because I think it's just pure spin. As I said, Man City are favourites to get him because they'll pay the money, they'll pay the price, and they'll get him because that's what Man City do. Whereas Man United will appease fans all season when we're getting bad results talking about Elliot Anderson and then not deliver it. They have to deliver it. You can't keep putting it out there that you want this player and then go, well, we've got a wage structure. Man United shouldn't have a wage structure, by the way. We should not have a wage structure. We're one of the richest clubs in the world in relation to revenue. The only reason, and look, people might argue with me, we should not have a wage structure. We shouldn't. We shouldn't pay stupid wages, but we shouldn't have a wage structure. A wage structure is for a club like Aston Villa, who have to be very careful about FFP, PSR. Man United shouldn't have a wage structure. We earn a lot of money, no matter what. The reason we've got a wage structure is because we're in debt and we have to pay interest. We're not the person that doesn't have a very good job and doesn't earn a lot of money and has to, count the pennies. We earn loads of money, but we owe loads of money, so we have to count the pennies. We shouldn't have a wage structure, and a club that wants to be one of the best clubs in the world shouldn't have a wage structure. That's not how it works. And even if you do have a wage structure, you better have bloody good recruitment, and we don't. So let's see what's going to happen. But you're not going to get Tonali, you're not going to get Stiller, you're not going to get Anderson, and you're not going to get good players if you don't have a good wage structure. What you're going to get is the player nobody else wants who's desperate to come here, Belieber. If you want good players, you've got to pay good wages. If you want Erling Haaland, you don't say to him, we've got a wage structure. You want good players, you've got to pay good wages. That's the way it works. It's competitive sport. Isn't Gibbs-White another number 10? Don't understand that one. And Romano said 2 midfielders policies are dumb in my book, says Sinead. Well, look, I probably haven't spoken about Gibbs-White, to be fair. I forgot his name. I mean, let me run a poll on this. Would you sign Gibbs-White? Simple as that. Because I want to take a beat on this for a moment. Get your questions in, by the way. It is an 8 o'clock show. Look, Gibbs-White, I said this today, and it's another player, isn't it? When we were talking about Sangari this morning, I'm like, so we want Elliot Anderson, we're interested in Sangari, and now we're interested in Gibbs-White. We're suddenly talking about Forest's whole midfield. You can't tell me they're all good enough and they're in a relegation battle. They can't all be good enough, can they? Gibbs-White, Sangari and Elliot Anderson, they can't all be good, because if they were good, they wouldn't be where they are in the league. So one or two of them are bluffers. Now, I think Elliot Anderson is the real deal. Gibbs-White, Gibbs-Shite, no, I couldn't help myself. It's a joke. No, Gibbs-White's a good player. He's a Tottenham player. He's James Maddison. He is not Odegaard. He is not Bruno. He is not Cherky. He is not De Bruyne. He is not that level. He's a Spurs player. Maybe a Newcastle player. He's not a Man United. Well, probably is a Man United player. Let's have a look at our track record. But in the traditional sense, I don't think he is. I don't think he's the level we should be going at. I mean, I read the article and it was talking about Bruno going and Gibbs-White being a consideration. I mean, you don't replace Bruno Fernandes with Gibbs-White. You don't. That's like DiCaprio dropping out of his latest film and you pop down EastEnders and get Ian Beale to do it. Like that's, you can't go from Bruno to Gibbs-White. No way. He ain't that level. Absolutely not. Good player, but for the price, I don't think I'd be going anywhere near that. At all. Look, I'd take him as a bench option. Absolutely would. Yeah, I agree with King Walker. I'd take him as a bench option, but I don't rate Gibbs. I mean, look, when that story broke today, you know when Ben Jacobs said Man United are looking to do a double Gordon and Tonali from Newcastle? Far-fetched, very expensive, but I'd be all over that. I'd be like that, like mayo on chips. I'd be all over Gordon and Tonali coming to Manchester United. I like them both. I know some of you don't like Gordon, I do, and I know a lot of us like Tonali, but I'd be all over that. Elliot Anderson and Gibbs-White ain't. Elliot Anderson, yes. Gibbs-White, no. I don't. For me, it's not the right sort of player for Manchester United. No. I mean, Savage, I'd rather have your double, Tonali and Hall. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. Sack to the board now says, I'd drive to Newcastle for Gordon and Tonali. There is an excuse mentality at Manchester United, says Ginger Red. Thank you very much, pal. Been a member for 45 months. Daniel Thompson's in the house. He says, I hope everyone's well. Morgan Gibbs-White is a good player, but we need to get the best players possible, like Anderson and Tonali. We need to go full on the midfield. No messing around, no excuses. Congratulations to your daughter on her success. Thank you very much, pal. And I do agree with you. We've got to get two really good midfielders. Sinead, yeah, we've done that one. Postecoglou said it. Spurs not a big club because of wage structure. We're in danger of becoming them or Everton, says Dan. GB Gary says, how's your daughter's ankle? It's a lot better now. It was the first 4 months of the season, though. Thanks for asking. And Emily Derry says, on what planet are Anderson and Gibbs-White going to demand more than Cunha and Mbeumo? Others may offer more, but they won't be demanding more than 200k a week. No idea why we would want Gibbs-White. Well, Emily, to be fair, I was talking to a Liverpool fan about this, and this is why I think we're being spun. I know for a fact that Man City really want Elliot Anderson. And we know for a fact that Man United will know that and have still... Look, Man United know that Man City want Elliot Anderson, right? And this is the deception, right? Because if you know something, but you still keep briefing something else, that's an act of deception. Because they know Man City want Elliot Anderson. And yet, from September to today, even today, Romano's talking about it, we're putting it out there that we really want Elliot Anderson. We really want Elliot Anderson. So we're either getting him or we're doing it for spin. Because they know Man City want him, because they'll know what I know and a few other people know. Man City were even thinking about Elliot Anderson in January if there'd been any indication. They got Guéhi, they got Semenyo, they would have gone and got Elliot Anderson because they want him. They will go for him in the summer. What they did with Guéhi was, even though he was out of contract in the summer and clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal were willing to make him very rich because they wouldn't need to give money to Palace, Man City gave money to Palace and still gave Guéhi more money than he was going to get from Liverpool. Think that through. If Guéhi had waited till the summer, he was a free agent, and Liverpool would have been saying, we don't have to give Crystal Palace 25 million, so we're going to give that money to you. So he was going to make a lot of money if he just waited till the summer. and yet he's making more money by signing for Man City, and Palace still got their 25 million. Imagine the wages that Guéhi is on. I think he's on about 250 grand a week. So Man United know in a race with Man City, they are going to maybe put 250 on the table for Elliot Anderson. And they're still briefing that they want Elliot Anderson, knowing they won't go anywhere near those wages and knowing that Man City are going to go for him hard. So I put the question to you, what are Manchester United doing briefing that Elliot Anderson is a priority when they know Man City are going to whack a stupid wage on the table and be relentless? They're playing with us, aren't they? If you know somebody's going to put silly money on the table and you know you're not, but you still keep saying he's our priority, then what are we playing at? And apparently Guéhi's on 300k a week. So it's a fair point. And this is what annoys me about the club. They're more than happy to brief to rinse their own fans. They're happy to mug you off and rinse you, knowing the chances of getting him are very, very slim unless we put the same money on the table, which we won't do. So I wouldn't say it's going as far as lying, because maybe Elliot Anderson will have a pang of love for Man United and say, I don't want your 300 grand a week, Man City. I'm going to sign for Man United on 150 grand a week. But the chances are they're not. And they're in possession of that knowledge. You got Fabrizio Romano tonight going, Man United love Elliot Anderson. He's a priority for Manchester United. And yet we all know what Man City's going to offer. They're going to offer between 200 and 300 grand a week in wages. And probably a good signing on fee. Man United won't match it. So why are we being linked to Elliot Anderson then? If we know we're not going to put anything near them on the table, why are we happy to keep putting it out there? Because it makes people feel positive. It makes people think for the whole season we're going to sign Elliot Anderson. Then he signs for Man City, and for a couple of minutes, Man United fans go, oh, we didn't get him anyway. But you've been played for 9 months. For 9 months, they've told us he's the priority. And in 9 minutes, you'll go from, oh, didn't really want him anyway. It's just, we get played all the time. Can't help but think if I had done that from Rory. Did you see Beth's video about why Morgan Gibbs-White would be a great signing? She's wrong, and I think he would be a terrible signing. What are your thoughts, says Jake? I haven't seen the video. Look, people are telling me to debate Beth. As I said to her this afternoon, I'll tell you why. There's no reason to debate Beth. I'm happy to debate Beth. More than happy. I've said to her, let's do one about Luke Shaw, because she rates Luke Shaw. Not as much as Ricky, but she rates Luke Shaw. And I said, he's shit. He just holds the hand of Maguire, doesn't go forward. So let's debate Luke Shaw. But on the Carrick thing, on the Gibbs-White thing, I've not heard Beth say anything about it. Gibbs-White's not a bad player. I just don't think I think he's a waste of money for Manchester United. I don't think we should be going anywhere. If you want to replace Bruno Fernandes, you better go for Cole Palmer. You don't replace Bruno Fernandes with Gibbs-White. We may as well just say Thursday night football for the next 10 years. You can't replace Bruno Fernandes with Gibbs-White. With all due respect to Gibbs-White, you just can't do it. You just can't. I think United forcing City to push wages is business, says Juan. What does that mean? I think United forcing City to push wages is business. I can't even think what you mean, Juan. I don't know what you mean. Gav says, I'll be honest, I won't hold my breath over major big signings. We keep throwing names out. When it comes down to it, we throw in the towel. Look, personally, I think a very intelligent summer for Manchester United doesn't need to be very expensive. I'm not even saying, I think we should not be reducing the wage bill. We should be trying to buy the best players. But if I was the CEO or the director of football, there's 3 or 4 things I would do that won't actually break the wage bill anyway. Stiller isn't going to break the wage bill. Almala from Cologne is not going to break the wage bill. There are players that we can go and get. And Micha, there are players out there that we can bring in that will instantly improve us that won't cost silly money. But if you want Elliot Anderson, you're going to have to pay big money. And if you don't want to pay big money, you're a walking contradiction. Stop telling Ornstein and Romano that Elliot Anderson is a priority for United when you know damn well you won't pay the wages. It's deception. You're taking the piss. You can't link us to Elliot Anderson all season as a priority and then go, oh, the wages are too big, like you've only just found out. Come on, you know? Glinios are playing the groundwork for when they bungle the Anderson signing and have to try and make excuses for their incompetence and laziness, says Andy Drew. And Jonathan Diaz says, Onana is the perfect midfielder to complement Mainu and Bruno. Yesterday showed we need physicality in this midfield, says Jonathan. Well, I don't know whether you missed the show this morning, Jonathan, but I said it straight at the start of the show. A lot of people talk about we can't break down a low block. A lot of people say Sesko should have started. I think United's biggest issue in the last 2 games is the midfield. It's bad. It's been really bad the last 2 games. We've got away with it. Obviously, Sesko's helped us get away with it. But the midfield has been a huge problem. That first 25 minutes of the second half yesterday was Everton. They had 10 corners and we hadn't had one. They were dominated. They were just toothless. The midfield is a massive problem. It has to be solved. It has to be solved. And I don't blame Carrick. I don't blame... To be honest, to a certain extent, I don't blame Amrin, but I blame Amrin more than Carrick about the midfield. But he didn't get one midfielder. But that midfield is a huge problem, and we have to spend lots of money on it. I would say 3 midfielders. Mike JW says, go all in on Anderson. We need to catch City. If we get Belaber or Gibbs-White, we will have problems catching a cold. Look, if we sign Elliot Anderson, I would sit here and say, great job. Well done. But I'm sat here now saying, that ain't happening. That's not going to happen. Because even somebody was saying to me the other day, if we get Champions League football, it's 50-50 between us and Man City for Elliot Anderson. And I went, what are you smoking? What do you mean it's 50-50 if we get Champions League football? That's just the start. Getting Champions League football is the in to actually have a conversation with him. That just gets us into the conversation. Liam Delap wouldn't have a conversation with us because we weren't in the Champions League. So if we get Champions League football, that'll get us into a conversation. And then you've got Man City, Man United, Champions League football. We're going to pay you loads of money. We're not. And that's where the story will end, surely. Surely. Because unless you're a lifelong Man United fan, well, Sir Jim Radcliffe's a lifelong Man United fan and he'd choose the money, let's be honest. But what is there between Man United and Man City apart from heritage and promise? I'm keeping my hopes not too high until the summer transfer is over. This board won't deliver up to 90% of what they plan, says Dung. And those clipping you only give you more clout, Mark, says Speedy. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you're right. You're right. But I think sometimes you get shit for something you didn't really say. I thought Carrick did make some mistakes last night, but ultimately I said it was a really good result. And ultimately, winning when you win bad, winning is all that matters at the moment. Yeah, which just to go back onto, all these people saying debate Beth. We've had a bit of a back and forth in the group chat today anyway. So Beth thinks that Michael Carrick should be considered for the job. I said I wouldn't give Michael Carrick the job. So we started having a bit of back and forth. And then I realised she was trying to say that I've said he shouldn't get the job. I've never said that. I've said anybody that wants to give Michael Carrick the job today is a moron. And I'll stand by that. But also, anybody who says he can't have the job in any circumstances is a moron as well. I'm not saying Michael Carrick won't get the job. I think he will. I've said that to you for about 3 weeks. I'll sit and tell you again. I'm absolutely convinced he's going to get the job. Because I think the club's incompetent. And they're cheap. And Carrick will be cheap. And he's a yes man. And they don't have to spend money on anybody else. I think they will give the job to Carrick. Rightly or wrongly, I think they will. But I haven't said he shouldn't get the job. I've said, let's wait and see where we are in May, and let's interview some other people as well and make the best choice. So there's nothing to debate, because I haven't said he shouldn't get the job. I thought Roy Keane saying he shouldn't get the job under any circumstances is wrong. Because what if we start playing really good football and we keep winning? Like, you've got to consider him for the job. But would I give him the job today? No. Do I think he should be the favourite to get the job today? No. I actually think we've played quite shit the last couple of games as well. And I think he's made a lot of mistakes in the last couple of games. But he's winning. And Amrin couldn't win 2 games in a row. So, you know, you've got to keep him in the equation. But there's absolutely nothing to debate, because until we get to the end of the season, I wouldn't even have the conversation. And what I hope is happening is that the club has finally had a kick up the arse and realised that we're Manchester United and we should actually be going for the best we can get. But we won't be going for the best we can get. We won't be going for the best we can get. We'll be going for what we can afford. And if it is De Zerbi or Carrick, or it is Glasner or Carrick, then Carrick's got a great chance. Even in my mind, he's got a great chance because I don't rate De Zerbi and I don't rate Glasner. So if it's a choice between Glasner and De Zerbi or Carrick at the end of the season, depending on what happens between now and the end of the season, I may well go Carrick. But it shouldn't be a choice between them. It should be a choice between Carrick and Enrique and Nagelsmann. That's who it should be. And I want Nagelsmann. If it's not Enrique, I want Nagelsmann. Because I think with Favel, we might actually force Wilcox out for good. I think there's an opportunity for Favel to become the director of football and Wilcox to be fucked off. But there's a lot of if, buts and maybes. But there's not really a debate because I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if there isn't a Man United fan out there that thinks the same as me. It's way too soon to be giving it to Carrick. And even if you're going to give it to Carrick, you've got to interview other people. And we should be doing this now and across the season. Look, we interviewed Pochettino and Ten Hag. The bare minimum, we need to interview other candidates. You can't live your life like that. Whether it's buying a dog or getting married. Some people would say it's very similar, but I wouldn't. But the point is, if you want a new car, even if you found the brand of car and the model of car, you might want to have a look at different, finishes and trims and, etc. If you've met someone that you really like, but it's your first serious relationship, do you ask them to marry you on the second date, or do you, keep your options open for a little bit? If you're buying a house and you find a nice house in an area you want to live, do you just buy it, or do you have a look if there's any other houses around there? And the bare minimum that United have to do is interview other candidates. I would love to know, and I don't know how they do it. I do know how they do it. I'm lying. The football industry, what we see publicly is about 10% of what actually happens. So when the Daily Mail tonight says that Man United are interested in Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson, right? We'll be interested in players we don't ever find out about. We'll inquire about players we never know about. We'll be offered players we'll never know about. So with the manager situation, when Ollie, let's not use Carrick. So when Solskjaer was interim and Mourinho had been sacked, and we gave Ollie the job without interviewing anybody else, in that period that Ollie was at the wheel for 4 months before he got the job, agents of managers will have been saying, my client's interested, my client's interested, my client's interested. When Van Gaal's job was in danger, Mourinho's agent was telling the club Mourinho will take the job in the summer. So we will know. You don't have to put a bloody job advert on LinkedIn. We will have people who are inquiring saying he's interested in the job. And some of those people might be really interesting, and some of them might be total shit. I mean, for example, I'm not saying this is the person, but someone like Simeone might have, through his agent, expressed an interest in the job. So I would love to know who's expressed an interest in the job, because I think we definitely should be interviewing a few people. And we might learn something as well. You might interview somebody who's got some really good ideas. I've done this before, right? You interview people for a job, and the best thing about an interview is if you pose the questions correctly, you can actually do a bit of research. So it happened to me a couple of times. I interviewed a couple of people in previous jobs, and their interviews were brilliant. But I already knew who I wanted to give the job to. But in their interviews, they mentioned 2 or 3 things, and I was taking notes. I was like, we're definitely going to do that then. Yeah, we'll do that. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So we might interview a manager who says, I'm going to come in and do this, this, and this, and I think these players are really interesting. And you go, oh, yeah, okay, he's not having the job, but that player he mentioned there, bloody brilliant. I don't want Simeone, by the way. I'm not saying that. M. Parker says, Ten Hag is assistant director at FC20, folding laundry and stocking the fridges. Amram is next, says Parker. Yeah, but they're rich, mate. They're very, very rich because of this club. Maybe the conversation changes if Pep pisses off, says Joseph. Yeah, but you know what, mate? Pep Guardiola's not leaving Man City and Gareth Southgate's coming in. I know what you're saying. You're saying if Elliot Anderson has to choose between Man United and Man City and Pep leaves, he'll come to Man United. What if the coach is De Zerbi or Carrick? Maybe he might look at that and go, there's no guarantee they're going to be here in a year. And also, Man City's next manager might be Enrique or Company or Maresca. And they've got good reputations. So, and the money will still be more. And the ambition will still be there. And Erling Haaland will still be there. So, yeah, I don't think Pep leaving will necessarily make it massively different. Mike JW says, can I have a shout out from my amazing, beautiful wife who's been battling cancer? We've been married 27 years this year and it's been amazing. Well, big shout out to your wife, Mike, and to you. You're a regular in the comment section. And let's hear it for Mike and his wife. And hopefully you've got many more years ahead to celebrate together. Shahin says, I was happy to consider Carrick for full time, but this decrease in training this early is a huge red flag. And United 7777 says, cannot understand how Shaw is still here. Imagine replacing him with an overlapping fullback like Anthony Robinson, which would allow Cunha to invert. I'll tell you what I can't understand, United 777. I can't understand how the United stand is actually, when you take it, I'm just one person. Ricky, Beth, love him. We're actually a bloody propaganda channel for the Luke Shaw. How's that happened? That's what happens with democracy. It stabs you in the back. When you take into account the main players who present on the United stand, I'm in the minority. Luke, we're actually a pro-Luke Shaw channel. The United Shaw, you may as well call it. I don't understand what I'm missing about Luke Shaw. And I used to rate him, so I know he's not the player he used to be. They want best in class, but only if it's cheap, says Zubat. Ah, mate, don't. You know what? I think the best in class thing with United is just it's become a comic, it's become a joke, it's become a tagline. Like, how do you get best in class with a wage structure or a wage limit? How do you have best in class when you're not willing to pay wages, whether it's the manager or players? Jose says, we always talk, thanks for your super chat, Jose, says, we always talk about needing new guys. When are we going to be aggressive to get rid of the players that aren't good enough, not loan out till the end of the contract? Well, look, mate, Harry Maguire's playing very, very well at the moment. I wouldn't keep him. I know I'm in the minority, but I wouldn't. He's going to be 33 in a month. And are we going to be playing counter-attacking, edge of our box football every game from now on then? Because he can't play a high line. So I wouldn't keep Maguire. Playing brilliantly well for us, but look at the way we played last night. Edge of the box defending again. How many times have we played edge of the box defending? Look, Man City, edge of the box defending. Arsenal, edge of the box defending. Spurs, until 10 men, edge of the box defending. Fulham was a bit more open, to be fair. I'll give it that. West Ham, edge of the box defending. Everton, edge of the box defending. I mean, is this what we want? Edge of the box defending and counter-attack? If you want it, fine. But I actually would like to see us playing higher up the pitch. Being able to play against the low block. Luke Shaw's going to be here another year. I'll tell you what, I'll say this right now. If Luke Shaw is available for every game till Christmas next season, I will say I was wrong. I'll say I was wrong. I'm absolutely convinced this is about the World Cup. And I'm absolutely convinced that the reason he isn't bombing forward, putting crosses in, is because he knows if he starts doing that, he's going to get injured and he'll be out the World Cup. And people can say that's really harsh. Well, it's not, is it? It's not really harsh because he was injured for 6 months and went to the Euros. So don't tell me that he might not be he might not be focused on the World Cup. Come on. Team USA was built to beat Team Canada in hockey. United needs to build a team to beat City. You know what, J-Lo? I think it's a really interesting point. There's a lot of look, the last time we won the title, the last bit of credible success we had, Sir Alex Ferguson built a team to beat City over one season. He got Van Persie in as a short-term fix, and it worked. You mentioned the USA team built to beat Canada. I don't think we look at it like this. I don't think a lot of people look at it like this. But if we just looked at Man City and went, we need to build a team to beat Man City, if we beat Man City, we wouldn't be far off anything. Champions League, Premier League. Man City, when they got money, their motivation was to beat Man United. Not Chelsea, not Arsenal, not Liverpool. Man City, when they got the money, was we want to be bigger than Man United. And they fixated on that. It wouldn't be a bad idea for us to fixate on beating Man City. And to do that, you've got to buy players they want. You've got to spend money like they spend. And so Jim Radcliffe would sit and say, well, you can't do that. Well, you fucking can. You can do that. You just don't want to run the club in that way. You want to run the club like a business when it needs to be run like a football club. I'll be honest. Oh, I've done that one from Gav. Thank you very much. Emily Derry says, best in class at United means teacher's pet. Everyone else's version means the best at their job that they can possibly get. It's why we do the deals we do and employ the people we employ. Well, just as an example, imagine if Pep Guardiola leaves Man City and Man City adopted a Man United approach of going, well, we need to replace Pep, but we've got a wage structure. We don't want to pay for a manager, so we can't get a manager that's already at a club. They've got to be available. They've got to basically do what Jason Wilcox says and give us control and be quite cheap. Man City will be finished. Man City will be finished because Man City are going to employ a manager who has power with the board and gets paid well. Because Man City's approach is to get the best in class, even if you have to pay a premium for it. And you look at success at City over the last decade on that approach of we will pay for the best. And you look at the success on the pitch. And then you look at Man United over the last 2 years of cut. If you want the best, you've got to pay for it. I think football's like food. Most of the time with food, you get what you pay for. And most of the time in football, you get what you pay for. You can't be, we're going to cut costs and be successful. It won't work. There's not a club in history that has cut costs and won titles. There isn't. It doesn't work. You've got to get the best. Who would you prefer to have as a left back instead of Luke Shaw, says Lord Harkey? I did a video on it, mate. It's on the channel. Beth's messaging me saying, what's this about you coming for me on the show? I'm not sure. Left back for me, I like Lewis Hall a lot. Anthony Robinson is an outlier, but he's old. He's too old for United. He's over 26. I would still do it. And I like Maatsen at Villa. Truffert at Bournemouth's very good. Very good. And what I like about Truffert is low profile name, can compete with Dorgu, doesn't need to start, but would probably be good enough to start. I do like Truffert as well. What about Soucek from West Ham? No, absolutely not, Ryan. No. Ryan, that's terrible. Ndia was kept quiet by Shaw, kept going back, says Robert McCormack. Mate, what game were you watching? What game are you watching? Luke Shaw pocketed Ndia. What game are you watching, mate? He was one of their best players. It's just unfortunately, Everton had nothing up top. Like Ten Hag. But look, no, Luke Shaw didn't play well last night. That's why the vast majority gave him 5 out of 10, mate. Look, there's always going to be people like you and Ricky in the world. But Luke Shaw factually didn't play well last night. That's why he got a crap rating. Win for the United Stand and hope everyone is well, says JB. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing well as well. Just say one word to Beth and Anna, says Mike. Oh, come on. You can't do that. That's not fair. Everybody made mistakes. I'm sure you could say a word where I've got it wrong. I can't think one on the top of my head, but yeah. And she's apologised for that. And Dorgu. She also said Dorgu was shit, and she's apologised for that as well. So look, you know, just because she's wrong about Dorgu and Anana and Shaw doesn't mean that, well, I agree with Beth on Carrick. I do. He can be considered for the job, but not today, you know? You were wrong about Sancho, Mark. I was. Look, there's a very, very interesting clip of when we signed Harry Maguire, and I said he was one of the top 5 centre-backs in the world. So I can't lie. I also said when Liverpool, the one that always comes to my mind is when Liverpool signed, and it does make me laugh because it just shows how you go after Liverpool. When Liverpool signed Van Dijk, I said 75 million for the Dutch Chris Smalling. Yeah, that didn't go well. But look, you get things wrong. You get things wrong. But you learn. The thing is to learn. Like with Jadon Sancho, that's why I don't want Belabor. Because Sancho, we went for him, and then we didn't get him, and then we went back for him again, and we never looked at the warning signs, and we never looked at the red flags. You know, he was constantly having issues at Dortmund in relation to timekeeping, and we ignored it. We ignored it. And I wanted Sancho. But you learn as a football fan as well. D says, you and Beth have been wrong about a lot of singing. I don't know. Oh, signings. Okay. Mr. JVD says, doing a great job. Mate, you tell me if a person in football who isn't wrong. We're all wrong. A lot. Chin says, feels good to be here. Thanks for being a member. I appreciate you. Let me just have a quick look here. Thank you very much. I don't want to talk about that. Oh, there was something that a lot of people have asked me to comment on. I don't really want to comment on this, but look, if we don't comment on these sort of things, we may as well just be the mainstream. We do have to be transparent. So there's a few people getting... Look, basically, Leny Yoro's had a ban from driving because he was speeding at 70 miles per hour in a 30 mile an hour zone near a school. A few people have messaged me saying you should say something about it. Well, I have just said something about it. What I would say is, at some point in my life, I might get done for speeding. In fact, I already have. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I haven't done 70 miles an hour outside of school in a 30. I mean, that's just crazy to me. 70 miles an hour in a 30 near a school is just ridiculous. And I'm sure Leny Yoro knows that. But we do have to be less judgmental in this world. Because I can think of times where other footballers who've become legends at this football club have done stuff wrong. And Leny Yoro is a footballer for Manchester United. And he's also a kid. And kids make mistakes. That is very dangerous. We also don't know what time of day this was. I mean, it almost reads like he's doing 70 miles an hour as kids are coming out of school. I very much doubt that was the case. But of course, look, we are a community, and I think hopefully the vast majority of us would say that's idiotic, stupid, naive, grow up and don't do it again. Because you could ruin your life or somebody else's life driving like that. And we all know that. And it doesn't make Leny Yoro a bad person. It doesn't make any of you who get a speeding ticket bad people. People do it. But obviously, it's not a good look. However, I'm not condoning it in any way, shape or form. But it doesn't make me think sell Leny Yoro, and it doesn't make me think don't play him against Crystal Palace, because I can separate between the two. Where I would jump in is that Man United seem to have a lot of these problems. You know what we had with Brandon Williams and other players, where young players seem to, at Man United more than other clubs, do silly things. And I think maybe the club need to be a little bit better, because these things do seem to happen around Manchester United or not. And the club should probably take responsibility. But as a fan, you can say that's out of order, but I wouldn't. I think it's, in my personal opinion, I think it's unfair to have a bad opinion of Leny Yoro, the footballer, for that. because there's plenty of footballers who've done plenty of things that are stupid, and ultimately they're footballers. And I think one of the big problems that we didn't have when I was growing up is that our idols when I was growing up were footballers. We didn't really know about their personal lives. We didn't. Social media didn't exist. Since some of them have retired, we found out about... I mean, there's legends of Man United whose behaviour, factual behaviour, is pretty shit. Like... But it wouldn't have made any difference to me when they were playing because I just want them to play good football for Man United. So yeah, you know, it's been mentioned, but there you go. Lisandro Martinez injury is minor, and he may even be back in contention for the Crystal Palace game at Old Trafford. I mean, look, if he's fit, pick him. If there's a risk, don't pick him. We've got a game against Newcastle next week as well. If you're telling me he needs another week, we can get by without him. We've got Aiden Heaven as well. We don't need to rush him back, but if he's back, that would be great. What did you think about Carragher's goalkeeping list? Well, I've already spoken about it. I've already tweeted about it. So basically, his top 5 was Petr Cech, Petr Schmeichel, Alisson, David De Gea, and Courtois, with Van der Sar in 6. Look, straight away, we've got 3 of the top Premier League goalkeepers of all time in the top 6, according to Jamie Carragher. The only issue I had, right, and Petr Cech has 202 clean sheets in the Premier League. Van der Sar's got 132. Petr Cech was part of the defence that's conceded the lowest number of goals in Premier League history. Cech is tied with Joe Hart for most PFA Goalkeepers of the Year awards. So, look, a lot of people like Petr Cech, but as I've said to you many times before, take your stats, get a big tube of lube, and ram them right up your arse, because the eye test is what it's all about. And I watched the entirety of the Premier League, and I'm telling you now, when Peter Schmeichel was playing in his prime, nobody was going to take Petr Cech over him. Nobody. So that's a big load of bollocks straight away. As I said, Peter Schmeichel is the best original goalkeeper the Premier League's ever had. And what I mean by that is before goalkeeping changed and he became a ball-playing goalkeeper, Peter Schmeichel has always been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League history based on the original type of goalkeeping. And then Edwin van der Sar is basically the godfather of the transformation in goalkeeping to being a goalkeeper but also a ball player. So for me, it would be Schmeichel 1, van der Sar 2. And I'm not disrespecting Petr Cech, but it's a fact. Peter Schmeichel, for the first 10 years of the Premier League, was the best goalkeeper in the world. And everybody knew it. And then, in 2005, well, it was probably before that with Van der Sar. Actually, Van der Sar was playing in the mid-90s. But whenever Van der Sar came to the Premier League, he came as the original godfather of the goalkeeping transition that people like Manuel Neuer and everybody else modelled their game on. So, you're talking about 2 of the most important goalkeepers in goalkeeping history. I'm not putting Petr Cech ahead of both of them. I might sandwich him in between, but Petr Cech doesn't go above Peter Schmeichel and Edwin van der Sar. But the problem as always is that people forget that the Premier League started in the 90s. There seems to be this obsession with the Premier League started in the year 2000, because we had that ridiculous athletic list last week where their top 60 Premier League players of all time didn't have Dennis Irwin in it. Because people just don't remember that the Premier League started in the 90s. Look, I don't care what anybody says. Schmeichel's problem is he wasn't a ball-playing goalkeeper. But George Best wouldn't be able to keep up with the modern game. It doesn't mean he wasn't a better player than Salah. It just means they played in different eras where there's different demands. And anybody who was around watching football in the 90s will know that Peter Schmeichel was established as the best goalkeeper in the world for many years. Andre Jewell says, we are Manchester United. Defenders shouldn't be praised for a defensive display against teams like Everton. They should also be good going forward. And what did Ndia do, says Robert? Well, every time he got the bloody ball, mate, he skipped past about 2 or 3 players. I mean, I don't know whether you've ever played football, Robert, but sometimes, like, James Garner was brilliant yesterday. Oh, what side was James Garner? Oh, was James Garner playing on the right-hand side by any chance? How many times did James Garner run down the right-hand side and put a cross in? Oh, who's the left back? So, just because you don't get a goal or an assist doesn't mean you have a bad game. I thought Garner and Dia were the 2 best players for Everton. And, oh, they happened to be playing on the side that Luke Shaw was playing at. So I don't know what game you were watching, mate. I said in the match reaction last night, based on Ndia tonight, I would definitely sign him for Man United. So he definitely didn't play shit. And I also said James Garner was man of the match. And they both played on the side that Luke Shaw played on. So I'm not having this Luke Shaw had a good game last night. I'm sorry. I give him a 5. And on every player ratings I've seen, most people did as well. If we're talking stats, Van der Sar has the longest clean sheet streak in the Premier League, and unlike Chelsea, we were playing attacking football, says Shane. Look, Peter Cech's a very good goalkeeper. I think the debate between Peter Cech and Van der Sar is probably a good one, but don't put Peter Schmeichel into it. Different level. You've got to be of a certain age. Unfortunately, I don't want to be ageist, but when it comes to Peter Schmeichel, you've got to be of a certain age. But trust me, amazing goalkeeper. Can we get 100 more likes on the video, please? We're only 100 away from 1,000. Right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And, oh, yeah, that's what we're going. 70% of you wouldn't sign Gibbs-White. 30% of you would. So, there we go. Look, good player, but very low down on my list. I think if you wanted my Man United transfer list now, and it's not every position, but listen to this. Lewis Hall at left back, Angelo Stiller and Elliot Anderson in the midfield, and Ngia as the left wing. I'll take them 4 players. I mean, we need 8, but I would take that. They'd be my 4. And you know what? You're going to need a bit of money. But I'd be very happy with those 4 players in the summer. I'd be very happy with those 4. I still want a backup striker, another midfielder, a right back, and potentially, if Bruno goes, a 10. But I'd be very happy with them. I'd be very happy with them. What about Diamonde? I like Diamonde, Savage. I'd be very happy with it. I would be very happy with Diamonde, but it depends on the price. I do like him, yeah. I do, yeah. But I think if you had Lewis Hall at left back, Elliot Anderson and Stiller in the midfield, and either Diamonde or Ndia on the wing, we'd be a brilliant team. And you could play Cunha as 10 then. We'd be a very good team. I think right back is urgent chicken. Yeah. Look, Delo played quite well yesterday, but I'm sorry. I watched it back this afternoon. Delo did play well, but you know why he played well? He's really fit and quick. The technical side of the game is quite average, but he's just really fast and fit. And he stands out because some of our players were so slow yesterday. Right, thanks everyone for watching. Take care, stay safe. And Mark, it's NJ, not Ndia. Yeah, well, he's not signed for Man United yet, so until he does, I don't really care. No one ever gets my name right. Thank you very much. Some of you get, you know what? Obviously, Goldbridge isn't my real name. My real surname, nobody ever gets it right. Some of you get really, really heated about me getting names wrong. When you've grown up with a name that no one can ever pronounce, it ain't that deep. I don't care. I don't care about people pronouncing my name wrong, and I don't care about pronouncing other people's name wrong. But some of you get really anal about it. And I read the comments and you're like, if you can't take the time to realise how to pronounce their name, it's so disrespectful. I grew up with a name that nobody could ever pronounce. And I never gave it a second thought. So I don't actually give a shit about pronouncing names right or wrong. So apologies to those who do. But just for clarity, I don't care. Because all my life, people never pronounced my name wrong. And I didn't spend every minute of every day going, I can't believe you got it fucking wrong. So I just don't care about name pronunciations. I'm sorry, but that's the backstory to it because I feel it needed clarifying because so many of you do put in the comments, you can't be bothered to learn their name. There's a reason for it. When you've experienced the other side of the coin and you don't give a shit, you really don't give a shit. But I will try and learn it if he comes to Manchester United. Look, it took me 3 months to not call him Lemons. So, there you go. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Stay safe.